To move further, I would like to call our guest speaker, the person of Mr. Olurotimi Ishola Akingbade, MNI, FCA, FCTI, CAN, that's CAN, ACIS. Can you move to the center, sir? Thank you very much.
Thank you. To take the citation of our able guest speaker of today, Mr. Ishola Akingbade. Let me call our pretty lady, one of our spouses in year 11, Mrs. Mary Odebumi Idowu, to come and read the citation of this our speaker, honorable speaker this afternoon. Put her together as she comes to read the citation.
Good afternoon, distinguished 11 members. Citation on Mr. Olurotimi Ishola Akingbade, MNI, FCA, FCTI, CAN, ACIS. Olurotimi Ishola Akingbade, MNI, FCA, FCTI, CNA, ACIS is a distinguished member of the National Institute, a seasoned public sector professional, and an accomplished accountant with extensive experience in tax administration, finance, fund management, and accounting. Born in Lugonu, Ekiti, Ijebu local government area of Ekiti State, he began his educational journey at St. John's Primary School, Odemuyiwa, Ile-Ife, Osun State, in 1972. He proceeded to Okemesi Grammar School, Okemesi Ekiti, where he completed his secondary education in 1984. His pursuit of academic and professional excellence took him to Yaba College of Technology and Lagos State Polytechnic, Isolo, Lagos, before earning a master's degree in business administration, financial management from Lagos State University. A chartered accountant of high repute, Olurotimi is a fellow Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN, and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITA. He is also an associate member of both the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN, and the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, CIS. Throughout his distinguished career, he has held numerous leadership roles across the public and private sectors. His professional journey includes notable stints with the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He also worked with Indemnity Finance Company Limited and Harmon Associates before serving as Managing Director of Revenue Based System Limited, where he pioneered innovative revenue generation strategies. His outstanding contributions to the public finance include his tenure as Financial Controller, Chief Finance Officers of Black Box Asset Management Limited, Executive Chairman of the Ekiti State Internal Revenue Service, Director General of the Ekiti State Signage and Advertisement Agency, and the Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development, Ekiti State. Until his nomination for the Senior Executive Course 47-2025 at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, Kuru, he was the Director State Administrator, Lagos Mainland East Division of Federal Inland Revenue Service, a devoted professional and visionary leader. Olurotimi Ishola Akingbade remains committed to strengthening public finance systems and fostering sustainable economic growth in Nigeria. Please let's put our hands together for our impartial speaker.
Other distinguished members, the chairman of this notable club, other members of the club and public officers invited here. Let me say good afternoon to you all. I am Olurotimi Ishola Akingbade, MNI, as rightly introduced, and I'm overwhelmed with the introduction. But when I got to this place, I saw the caliber of people, my legs were shaking. Because this is not an E level. This is too powerful. And I pray that your club will continue to grow. I'll be taking you today on issues, particularly as regards the recent tax reform and how you can legally navigate through the tax law to ensure that your businesses are sustained. That's just the summary of all our talk today. So that is the conclusion of all my presentation. And of course, the outline of my presentation is as shown on the screen. Now to the background to my presentation. Across the world, tax reform has been a major phenomenon embarked upon by many nations in order to boost their economic expectation, purposely for sustainable development. We're talking about sustainable development here in that it is not enough for you to meet your projected revenue today in order to satisfy today's activities. That same revenue must equally be coming when you have left as a government for generation yet unborn. So when you are talking about economy today for the purpose of building your nation or your state, either as the governor or as the president or as the cabinet of the state. So that is why most nations talk about tax reform. It's not just to raise revenue, but to develop the economy and ensure that there is sustainability. Reducing tax rate and broadening the tax base, while the implementation of the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1983 raised taxes on higher income. Between 1980 and 1990, many European nations began to lower their marginal tax rate and introduce value-added tax. The essence of tax might not necessarily be to increase the tax rate sometimes. Sometimes nations will decide to bring it down for the purpose of attracting businesses or to grow some businesses that we describe as micro, small, medium enterprises. My research in NIMS is based on the small and micro businesses and how those businesses could be grown to become bigger, and their recommendation to support that research. So sometimes government will look at it and deliberately bring down the tax rate in order to attract investment. And so in Europe, they did so between the 1980s and in the 90s. In the 80s, countries like Singapore, which we refer to more often today when it comes to nations' expansion, adopted no tax regime to attract investment and spur economic growth, while India initiated liberalization reform in 1991, which included tax reform focusing on simplification and modernization. In 2000s, there were widespread reforms in China. Today we talk about China. China was like, when we talk of China in the past, what we mean by China is Shinko, fake things, very relevant thing. But today, they have developed their economy using various means. And they have unified corporate tax rate and emphasis on VAT. Why between 2010 and 2020, the reform continued with emphasis on deeper economy taxation and effort to widen tax base. What do we talk about concerning digital economy taxation? Most of us here has our physical shop here in Ekiti or in Ibadan or in Lagos. But there are businesses that are doing pretty well, better than what we do here. One of those businesses is WhatsApp. Each message you send, they are charging you money. And through data. And those triples, the money goes directly to their parent company. And those parent company is not even in Nigeria. They don't even have presence here. So, in the last Finance Act that we did, we especially inserted in it what we call significant economic presence. That even if you are not here in Ekiti, but you are doing businesses in Ekiti directly or indirectly, that means you have significant economic presence, and so you should pay tax in Ekiti. I don't know how far most of the states have gone regarding that, but I know that some states jump into it. But with the new reform, some of them have been modified. Between 1980 and 1990, many African countries underwent structural adjustment programs that led to a review and reform of tax policies to improve revenue. We'll talk about Rwanda. Rwanda today is one of the examples of developing countries when it comes to industries, businesses, SMSE program in Africa. South Africa is not equally doing badly, and we have references concerning these organizations, countries. Now, in our own country, signed into law the tax reform legislation, which in the recent overhauled the Nigerian fiscal architecture, which has been so fragmented over years. Talk about fragmentation of laws. In the same line, there are 10 laws addressing the same item. The 4 acts under the Nigerian Physical Tax Reform include the Nigerian Tax Act, the Nigerian Revenue Service. That one is just to repeal Federal Inland Revenue Service. Call it Federal Inland Revenue Service before, now it's Nigeria Revenue Service. And what is different? The difference is that formerly it was believed that it was owned by the Federal Inland Revenue, but now we are saying it is owned by every Nigeria, because every tax collected by them is share in form of VAT, in form of VAT on monthly basis. So they can't classify it to be federal. So it's national now, and we equally have Nigeria Tax Administration Act and Joint Revenue Board, which replaces the JTB. JTB is Joint Tax Board that coordinates all the tax authority, the 37 tax authority plus federal. Now we have a law, but before now there's no act really backing it up. It was just an insertion in one of the law, particularly the PIT, Personal Income Tax Act. So, but now we have a clear law setting it up properly with power of what to do and what not to do. It's just to primarily discuss the tax reform, and as it's going to affect some of our businesses, what we need to do, and how for us to prepare very well for it. Our aim is to evaluate the issue, challenges, opportunities associated with the recent tax policy and tax reform, and make appropriate recommendation to the business community to assess the issues, challenges, and opportunities associated with the act. And of course, we have the Nigeria, I have mentioned it, the Nigeria Tax Act, the Nigeria Revenue Establishment Act, the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, and the Joint Revenue Board 2025. Those are the 4 acts embedded into that reform. Those 4 acts touch so many laws, about 27 of them, collapsing them and bringing them under just 4 now. The scope of my presentation, a look at the scope of my presentation is just a brief review of the Repeal Act. And of course, I'm going to talk about the act itself to examine the new act. There are some limitations, and the limitation is not all that special. The limitation is that as of today, there is discrepancies between the law that was passed by the National Assembly and the law that was decided by the executive. I don't know how many of you are following up on, so it's a limitation, but for this purpose, I have chosen to just deal with our discussion based on the laws passed by the National Assembly until otherwise reviewed. Key challenges in this act. So key changes in the act. This tax reform touches some aspect of the previous tax. One of these is corporate tax relief for small businesses. As at 31st December this year. So that means it's still operational. So effective from January 1, 2026, small company will be classified as company with revenue between 15 million and with an revenue below 50 million and asset below 250 million. As of today, we classify small company as company with revenue that is 25 million and below. And the implication of that is that these companies are not expected to pay taxes. Now, the threshold has been moved forward. So if your business is not up to 50 million, please work hard to make it 50 million so that we can be taxing you. It's just an appeal. Please, grow your revenue, grow your income so that we'll be able to be your friend. Because if you are not doing up to 50 million per annum, then we probably will not visit you. And I know that you will be happy with us. Then there is this introduction of CIT and CTG and 4% development level. Before now, when you make profit, we tax you, maybe if you are doing very well, we tax you 30%. and will now be charging 2% education fee, 3% education fee, 1%, and so everyone has been limited now. You only pay 4% development levy, and this 4% will be distributed among all those agencies that need special funding, whether universities or tertiary institutions, so to say, the cybercrime agencies and all whatnot. So capital gain tax was overhauled, and the CGT rate for company increased from 10 to 30. How? Before, if you dispose your house, it is believed that you will not pay more than 10% after all expenses. You look at the cost, we remove it, expenses, we remove it, then whatever you have less, we charge the 10%. But as at now, we are saying, if you are disposing your house, that means you are equally doing transaction. Is it not transaction? Money is coming to you now. So whatever you are getting from that house will be treated as if you are doing business. So it's going to be taxed at the rate at which we tax businesses. So don't dispose your house. So I suggest to transfer some of your houses to me. Development levy, I have mentioned that, and the organizations that will benefit are stated there. 4%. That means 30% company tax, corporate tax, plus 4% development tax. That is the expectation for now. That doesn't affect some other local government or whatever. I hope we're able to work together so that we will ensure that these taxes are as designed by the law. Personal income tax. More progressive personal income tax has been embedded. Before, when you have 1 million as your salary, we only allow you 200,000 as non-taxable plus 20%. So every other thing there will be taxed. But now we are saying 800,000, you will no longer pay tax if your salary is 800,000. If your salary is 1 million naira, that means we will remove 800,000 from that 1 million, only 200,000 will be taxable. Economic development incentive replaces pioneer status. Eligible businesses get 5% annual tax credit on qualifying capital expenditure up to 5 years. So this is just to encourage you to do other businesses, such that it's not only event center, filling station. What do we do in Ekiti? That is the hotel. You can go to mining. If you come to mining, you will enjoy this allowance. So it's just to encourage people to go into those critical sectors that we still need serious investment. It's to encourage all of us. Then, effective tax rate. Large company, 50 billion plus. This is just for foreign company, really. I am not too sure that everybody sitting here that is serving foreign company. Only a few people, I believe. So what are we saying here is that all those companies that are trading, doing businesses here, they will just tell us that their offices are located in US. And we are saying, look, we will continue to tax your business now. So long you have 50 billion plus, or part of or 750 million plus, must pay a minimum of 15% top up tax apply if your ETR is lower. So what we do now is that we look at what you are paying into in your country and look at what you are supposed to pay to us in Nigeria, but we have a cap, which is 15% of your profit for foreign company. VAT input recovery and zero rating. VAT at 7.5 retain, but expanded zero rated goods listed, food, goods, medical. If you don't want to pay VAT, there are items that you can deal with and your VAT will reduce. Mandatory VAT e-invoicing. I'm aware, I believe that most companies now will have been talking to consultants to come and look at their system in order to do their e-invoicing, because going forward, it is expected that you have a transaction directly linked with the e-platform or Federal Revenue Service and maybe Joint Revenue Board to monitor your business activities. There is no hidden way for all of us. Then definition of residency for personal income tax now applies to worldwide income of Nigerian residents, defined to include those with economic family ties during the year. Those are the people that are not in Nigeria, but they have business in Nigeria. Tax compliance technology, stamp duty on agreement, this one has been clearly defined now. If you are doing an agreement, you are getting contract from the state government, you don't need to pay much money. You are only going to pay about 1,000 naira as the fee. Now, which is, I think, is a very reasonable amount. I don't know whether this development will increase the revenue of the state or will reduce it. I don't know. Taxation of lottery and gaming. Tax ombuds and dispute resolution. This is another I call it agency that has been introduced to the new law. The implication now is that anybody here who is angry with any tax authority, including federal and revenue, can send petition directly to the joint revenue boards, tax ombuds, and they will take up your issue. It is believed that they represent the deal with the grievances of the taxpayer. My own worry is that maybe the taxpayer will have been allowed to appoint the Director General. But the Director General, so to say, is equally appointed by the government, you know. So I expect that doesn't stop him from doing his work in line with the law. Now, all these are just grammar to tell us about the tax reform. And I'm saying here that it's one of the most important for radical and sustainable development in Nigeria, given the decrease in oil revenue, growing physical instability, and increased development challenges. Nigerians, of course, public sector, over the last 20 years has experienced a multiple of tax restructuring attempts aimed at improving revenue mobilization, improving the efficiency of public finance administration, promote investment, and decreasing the economic exposure. Though not to bore you so that you won't be speaking too much grammar, what this thing is talking about is that Nigeria has always been equally making attempt to adjust, to make improvement on their tax revenue, but not as in what they have done now. In the last 5 years, we'll be coming out with Finance Act, which is always to modify of our taxes in order to fund the economy. But that tax assessment that will favor the existing internal revenue service, is that not? Such that they can get fee that will worth their experience. So that's tax consultant, and that is part A of the tax consultant. We only have tax consultant that work for you, for me, that will say, no, this is not turnover. This is just money given to me by my late father in order to reduce the tax liability. So while the government consultant is working to increase the revenue of the government, the tax consultant for companies and personal individuals are working hard to reduce the tax liability of their client, which are taxpayers in this regard. So you can see now that the expectation of people concerning this tax reform is different. Now, we now have the key people here, the taxpayers. Everybody here, one way or the other, pay tax. Whether you are working or you are retired, so long you go and buy something that is valuable, you are paying tax. So they will come and tell you, if you are under 18, you are not taxable, na lie. If you buy anything that is valuable, would they exempt you because you are under 18? I mean, I'm not aware of that. Maybe if I put in more effort, I will see people who have been exempted in that regard. So everybody, one way or the other, is paying that. So the taxpayer's expectation is very simple. The taxpayer expectation is that this tax reform should be so favorable such that they will pay almost zero amount of taxes. That's the expectation. Even the tax administrator that is collecting the money doesn't want to pay tax if he has the opportunity. These are reality that most of us are shying away from. So, Now, I now summarize and I said there is gap in our expectation. And so, any tax reform that cannot close this gap will not make meaningful impact. Any tax reform that cannot close the gap between the expectation of the government, the expectation of tax consultant. I told you we have tax consultant in 2 places. The expectation of taxpayer. Any reform that cannot close the gap will not make meaningful impact in any nation. The question is, the current tax reform, is he going to close the gap or not? Let's start it by January. I want to believe that it will close the gap. So before I get to this place, okay. So before I got to this place, I already said under that gap that there is this trust deficit that exists between the tax authority and the taxpayer. Every tax administrator believes that whatever account you are submitting to them is modified, that you are not saying the truth. That is that mindset. So the moment you submit it now, what they are looking for is error. Because they believe that you are deliberately coming up to reduce your tax liability. And taxpayer too, it's very rare for any taxpayer to trust tax administrator. They will tell you, even when you are telling them, showing them the bank statement, everything, they will still tell you that it's a lie. You know that they will come and tell you, go and produce receipt. When you produce receipt, they will tell you this receipt is not genuine, it's not original, and they not feel frustrated. So the taxpayer, they don't trust the tax authority. The tax authority do not believe the taxpayer. So there is trust deficit. Not that we are able to eliminate this trust deficit, Nigeria tax system, no matter how restructured, may not be able to have meaningful outcome. So the honor is on us, all of us, to begin to trust the tax authority. I want to believe that the tax authority, with this reform, will work with the taxpayer and will trust them to move forward. Now we have challenges associated with the reform. Implementation challenges. Majorly, the reforms may face difficulty in effective implementation, including adequate infrastructure and technology, not just by government, even the businesses, because it is expected that you have some software now before you can do e-invoice. So there might be challenges. Complexity and compliance. If the system is so complex, the compliance will be difficult because people will just get to level out to sue me, I'm tired. Not just because they don't want to comply, but because the software, the system is slightly complex, it's not simple. So I want to believe that the tax authority will do everything to sensitize people to make it easy for people. Revenue distribution inequality, you talk about the states, the federal, limited awareness and education. I am aware that we are having sensitization, and the reason why today's lecture is holding is sensitization to keep us abreast of what is happening for the purpose of keeping our business growing. There is nobody that wants his business to be stagnant, and I pray that your business will not grow stagnant. Now, economic impact, administrative capacity, potential for increased tax body. These are challenges, or some of the challenges that we envisage concerning the new tax reform. Yes, we equally have opportunities. And I said we have increased tax threshold. What do we mean by that is that if you are on payee and your non-taxable has always been 200,000, now it has been moved to 800,000. So you have money to play with. Tax incentive for investment. If you have been investing in invest center, please go and start quarry. It's tax-free under mining. You have benefit because they will give you tax holiday. If you cannot start quarry alone, please, this is CE level. Let friend talk to friend, form a larger capital base, and do better business, and you will be enjoying some tax holiday. Enhance deduction and relief, streamline tax compliance, support for small and medium businesses. Of course, there will always be job creation. These areas reflect effort to create a more equitable tax system, promote compliance, and stimulate economic growth. The recent tax reform in Nigeria offer various benefits to state government as well. So the state government will benefit because now when they are going to have joint account, it's not. When I was privileged to be the federal revenue coordinator for Kwara, Ondo, and Ekiti Lele, now what can I do to add value? I called the state internal revenue chairman, come and have office in my office. Give me office in your office. So when you load your expenses in order to avoid PE, by the time you get to me, I will look at it, I will tax you. So when you load the expenses in order to reduce company income tax, by the time you get to you look at it, no. So we work together, and the two agencies actually benefited from it. So there are opportunities, and for our businesses too, there are opportunities. This is an opportunity for the government. Of course, the revenue is expected to increase. There will be local investment. If the environment is sweet, there will be capacity building. It will enhance local development projects and all whatnot. And I have summary of the key finding. I'm going to take you to my words now, such that I can conclude with you easily. So unfortunately, I couldn't finish it under this E11. So summary of the key finding. And I said here, the recent tax reform in Nigeria may bring certain hardship to both individual companies and the economy itself. So I classify the challenges to address which group do they belong to. And I said to individual, there may likely be increase in tax burden. Some individuals may face higher tax rate because what the tax has done is to eliminate middle class. It's either you are low or you are top. But the truth is that there are people who are just, the politician will say, common Latin. They are neither rich nor poor. And with the current tax system, they may face some challenges. And even for those who are not having so much money, if you are not careful with transaction in your bank account, particularly with the classification, you may run into trouble. Do you understand now? Because before you just transfer 100,000 to Ishola Akindale, you will not put it normally. The tax authority sees it and they will classify it as part of your income. And they will now trace you to say it is vatable. Meanwhile, maybe you are dashing me because you couldn't give me bag of rice for Christmas. Honorable, I'm still waiting for you. So those are basic things that you must pay attention to. You must classify it properly. And in order to do this classification, you go and study the law to know that, look, there are some transactions that are not vatable or that are zero rated, particularly stable pool. If you think you go and marry and get plenty children, when you are buying baby materials, it's not vatable. So you enjoy tax free. So those are part of the benefit that you will have. We have complex tax compliance, limited awareness. All these things that E11 is doing, it's not everybody that will have the opportunity of getting this kind of information. So people will still, by January, they will just be spending money, and they will say classification, they will still transfer. Because you don't want to write much, you just say remark, transfer. Every transfer will likely be classified as part of your sales, whereas it is not. So you need to watch out. So I said, hardship to the company. Increase compliance costs. Compliance costs might increase if the taxes are increasing. If the software is complex, then you have no choice than to get higher software, get higher consultant, and that might lead to high cost of operation, uncertainty in regulation. The truth is that as of today, people are still dragging that the law should not commence in January. People are still saying that the law should not start. But the truth is that there have always been various uncertainty in our rules and regulations in Nigeria. When I forgot to mention that one of the major problems we have in Nigeria is that the tax administrator, of which I am one of them, we interpret law to favor our authority, tax law. The taxpayer again, this same law, they will interpret it to favor themselves for the purpose of pleasing. So depending on who is stronger when it comes to the understanding of the law, you know, the same law, it's not two law, will be interpreted but differently. And one of my appeal to the tax administrator, which I am one of them, of course I'm a taxpayer, is that we should look at the law more objectively. Just bend backward a little and ask yourself, what if you are the owner of this business? How will you interpret this law? And I'm happy that we have Professor Fashui of here seated. He can attest to where manner I have been dealing with some of the transactions during my youthful days. Okay, challenges in competition. If care is not taken, the firm will run into competition that will equally kill some firms. Now, because if you are saying companies with 50 million should not pay tax, and you are saying companies with 51 million should pay tax, you will get a CBO. You know what people do? People will now deliberately recognize some money for company and send the other money in their own personal name. Some of the filling stations in Abuja, they will give you POS that will bear the name of the owner. It won't bear the name of the filling station. But in all now, I think it's better they make it the name of the company, because I think it's cheaper. Because by the time the existing Ghana Revenue captures you, they will just take you, all those income, they will take it as part of your personal income. Then the economy, there will be short-term revenue disruption, undoubtedly. There will be, even now there is fear in the system. What will the tax reform, what will it bring comes January? Is that no fear? So there is fear already. But I'm saying no negative things. It is expected that it will favor all our businesses. It will impact on our investment for or against, depending on how you use it, depending on which area are you investing. So choose wisely, invest on area that we don't have too much players. Distribution inequality, everything is there. Then we have likely benefit, of course, to individual. There will be increased threshold, which I have mentioned, expanded deduction and relief, improved compliance incentive. Benefits to the company, we have tax incentive for investment, reduced corporate tax rate, yes, enhanced tax administration. Benefits to the economy, increased revenue generation, economic diversification, overall economic growth. In conclusion, the tax reform have potential benefit with government intention to create more effective and equitable tax system that support individual businesses and the broader economy. In all of this, the main issue with the recent tax reform is the gap. I think I have mentioned this gap. Is the gap among the major stakeholders. As earlier mentioned, the tax administration never believed in the financial status and tax returns presented by the taxpayers. They believe that most tax returns submitted by the taxpayer are already modified to reduce tax liability, while the taxpayer, on the other hand, never believe in the interpretation and fair implementation of tax law, as most tax laws are interpreted differently by different tax administrators in order for them to meet their revenue target. So what is in their head is, how do I meet 20 billion revenue target for governor or for Federal Revenue Service? It's very common. The moment they hand over target to them, they look at the law and say, how best do I interpret this law to ensure that I meet my target? And so the taxpayer doesn't really have respect for tax administrator because of that. But I'm just telling you, sharing experience here. You know, so beyond the gap is also the trust deficit, which I have mentioned for both parties. And if this trust deficit is not addressed, there can not be effective implementation of any tax reform. Recommendation: train and upskill your team such that they will not cause you unnecessary wahala. Because If items that are not taxable are being classified wrongly, it can be subjected to taxes. How much are you making that you will be paying wrong taxes? And do you know that any money that enter government purse is always very difficult to come out? So track and manage tax rates. Seek professional support. This time there might be need for you to engage professional tax consultant. I am not marketing right on the Guadalupe here, but there is need for you to talk to professional tax consultant. The earlier you prevent something, the better for your business. Then and I'm giving tip before I run away from this podium. And I'm saying tax is not about money entering your account too. It is about what that money is actually meant for. And not just what it's actually meant for. It is how it is classified. If you classify it wrongly, it will be taken as part of your sales. If you describe money wrongly, it may look like income and you pay more tax. If you describe it correctly, you only pay tax when required and nothing extra. Money that is not income, no tax. When a family member sends you money, they should write gift. Tell them they should not just write TRF, transfer. Every TRF is assumed to be part of your sales. When a friend pays you back your money, let it be a refund or reimbursement. Let it be clearly stated in your app, Babi. So that when they are seeing it, because it's always going to be traced online, it will be clear to them that this one is not part of your money. When your money moves, when you move money of your own to another account, Zenith Bank to GTB, classify it for a personal transfer and put it your name that they should know it's your name. When someone lends you money, he or she should write loan. If you put your own money into your business, write capital contribution. Maybe this will help. So on this note, let me just stop here. I have exhausted my time. I pray that your businesses will grow.
Let's give them more round of applause, please. All right, thank you very much, Professor Ishola Akingbade, Professor of Taxation. And don't sit here, or maybe okay, just take your seat there. While we ask people to ask questions, observation from the professor who has going to deliver a very beautiful lecture. Please, questions for him, please. One, please, don't think about 3 or 4 questions. Yes, Dr. Mojola. Okay, Chairman of 11. Okay, Professor Adeoluwa. Okay, Professor Bashi, every professor. Okay, right away, Umi Adeoluwa. Okay, let's start from okay, and also on the Bakidele. Let's start from Dr. Mojola, please.
I want to join the General Secretary of United to thank Prince Ishola Akingbade for a well-delivered presentation. But many years ago, Ishola used to be my approval, but we don't call the guest speaker your approval. What problem we created this out of is what I've noticed in the last few months about this task report. I've listened to several discussions on radio or television. There are things they will tell us, there are things they will not tell us. I only try to look at the reforms. I found out that there are key offenses and penalties. The tax experts don't tell the public these offenses. For example, failure to register. The penalty is 50,000 for the first month of default and 25,000 for each additional month. Failure to file VAT returns. Penalty is 100,000 for the first month and 50,000 for each subsequent month. I listed so many. There's a particular one that is imprisonment. Well, I want my brother to expatiate on that, because where there is no law, there is no sin. What people are looking at now is how it will affect their income. But beyond that, there are many things in that law that can put people in jail. And some of us who may be going in that direction are here. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the speaker, please, before this question, the speaker, you want to take all the questions? All right, please before the next question from our chairman, please let me humbly and ably recognize the presence of the following people in our midst this afternoon. Seated earlier on is the Vice Chancellor of Bosti Ikere, Professor Victor Adeoluwa. A round of applause for him. West. All right. Please, and also the incoming Vice Chancellor of West, Professor Babatunde Omojola. Thank you for attending our public lecture. We deeply appreciate you. Also, coming when the lecture was going on to attend this public lecture is a very strong member of BL-Level and the co-host of our annual game meeting for this year, the senior brother to the chairman of Kafista Holding, Mr. Ron Olajide. A round of applause for him. Thank you, sir, for coming to attend this public lectures. And of course, some of us are members of BL-Level. Thank you very much. Chairman BL-Level, your question.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for a very beautiful lecture. I wanted to please expatiate between tax avoidance and tax evasion. There's a big difference between the two. And I'm looking at if can I have 4 registered companies and each of them generating 49 million. How does that apply? I'm the chairman or MD, but there are 4, 5, 6, up to 10 of them. So how does that apply? And for the issue of the capital gains tax, how do you determine the capital gains? If I'm selling my property, how do you know how much I bought it? Then how do you know the amount I'm selling? But how do you know how much I bought to not know the profit? And not tax it. Thank you.
Let me also join others to thank the speaker. My question, I don't know whether it is the speaker that needs to answer that or some other members of the House. I look at what he said and what Dr. Omojola said. I'm a professor. And I really quite don't understand a lot of what he has said. And I said, others are doomed. If there are aspects of it that lead to prison, and Dr. Omojola said some people are already in that direction. I just pray I'm not part of those people in that direction. Because I really don't know a lot about what he's saying. Is there any effort that has been put in place to make those people in the streets to have a little understanding of all these things that we're talking about, so that they don't go to prison unknowingly? Thank you.
Thank you. Aluta.
Good afternoon, the chairman and ESCO and all our hosts and every other person. I want to appreciate, maybe I cannot call him my colleague now, maybe I'll call him my Oga. Because we are under this thing now, so we should address them properly so that we don't run into troubles. I want to appreciate him for a well-developed and delivered paper. It's understandable that the current tax alignments and regulations, nobody can deliver the complete, package at any time. But I want to let us know. One thing I want everybody to know is that there is nobody, because Nigerians have been carrying along that I will not be able to pay tax. There is nobody that will not pay tax. Let us know that. Then let us know that the fact that you are an employee or you are an employer, you believe in those days, it is only streamlined income earners that are easily accessible to tax. But now, everyone is exposed. The digital level, at this level where we are talking about, there is no hiding place. So nobody should try to hide. That's it. So if you have a company and you try, because it is 50 million, and you try to divide the remaining 1 million pair to a name to everything, your name will expose you. And if you are earning and 800,000 will be deducted from your earning, maybe it's now remaining 200 and you are rejoicing. Okay, don't have an asset from your father. That is even an aspect that I'm still quarreling with the administrators, the tax administrator about. The last time one of them came to present to us in our association, I asked, it's just a digression now. I have a plot of land in Akingbade that my father bequeathed to me. It's free, and after some time, Imre is a very popular town. Embrace the appreciation of land there is very good now. And now sell it for 50 million. The tax administrator will look at me as a person, Bumi Adeluba, not as Bumi Adeluba and co. We look at my name, we look at my bank statements and say, Bumi. In fact, they will be rejoicing. They will just add that to by 200,000 that I believe I have. They will add 50 million. Because there is no money that I pay for that. So it's 50 million that has my income. Please, the tax administrator is here. I can just tell us that is, the right thing. Even if I buy that land for 100,000, as at that time, or I don't pay anything for it, that land will not be evaluated for the current tax system. I asked the administrator that came to us, I said, I bought land in Ado-Ekiti for 2 million, and now I'm able to sell it for 7 million. They will just deduct 2 million from it. It's 5 million. How much was the exchange rate as at that time? How much was petrol price as at that time? Nobody is considering that. The tax administrator the tax law does not have anything about that. So they will so if you think is 200,000, they are going to assess you and forget. They will add it to, so many of us, we have that we are doing.
All right.
That's one side. I also want us to know
1 second more.
that the punitive measure is very severe now. So if somebody was asking about tax evasion, tax avoidance, don't even try all those things. So even your tax consultant will be in trouble. You can go to jail. So there are so many things that is in this tax law that everybody, as human being in Nigeria, you need to take it and read very well and arm yourself with it and be sure that you don't run into trouble in 2026. Another thing I want to do, because there is an administrator here, is some of them are telling us that this tax, which anyway we are engaging with them at the higher level, this tax is supposed to take place from 2026 as the tax base year. So it is accessible in 2027. Some of them are saying, Mr. Akingbade was saying that the tax administrator, they are looking for what to use. As they have my bank statement with them now, without even be giving to them, they can come to 2025 and assess me as if that is the year that this tax is coming from. Except you have somebody that can actually take your case up, and that is why we are coming in. I'm not trying to market myself. Thank you.
My question is very simple. I've been going through the e-copy of the tax remittances and all that. My question is that, is it possible for somebody, even though not a consultant, not a tax consultant, but is it possible to personally attend to your tax issues is on your own without going to any tax consultant or that? Because I looked at that e-format, declaring your tax declaration here and there, and I really think I can go it alone. So please, thank you. I will need an answer to that.
Thank you, Professor.
My own question is, when you look at the new law, there is a section that gives power to the board for the board to enter into anybody's property at any time, and also the power of seizure of someone's property within 14 days. Also, there is another section that speaks that, okay, if you are taxed and there is need for you to go to court, there is need for you to pay certain percentage. What can you say? Is that not giving? What can you say about it? Is it not giving power too much to the board? Also, is that not a breach of citizen fundamental human rights?
Thank you very much.
I also want to ask a question about the doctrine of the document. We have rumors flying around that the law has been doctored here and there by who? And is it the National Assembly owned? Has it been gazetted? Is it the one gazetted that we are going to use or the one flying around?
All right.
Just make clarification.
Thank you very much, Aluta. Please, before we call, please let's have some quietness. Before we call on the speaker to answer to this question, please, Mr. Speaker, make it very short and brief. Every other thing, they can see you after now. Please come in. Please, Dr. Manjola, please come in just when the questions are being answered. Is our chief host for annual general meeting, the chairman of Cavista Holdings, all over about 8 nations, and my very good boss, Mr. Ni John Olagide. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for all you are doing for us. For even finding time to come and attend our public lecture, we thank you. He's a very strong member, active member of E11. A round of applause for him. Thank you.
Brother Wanjola, you are talking about some penalty that we did not talk about. We are not scared people. So, and some of these penalties are being long before now. That's the truth. There are some really that is, for example, if you are strong any staff of Ekiti Internal Revenue Service, you are expected to enjoy some part of your life in prison. It's just to compensate your wrongness, nothing special. You know, there are a whole lot of penalties, long, that we cannot even exhaust in a training like this. So many of them, you know, so. And that's my paper, if not because of the speed, I was asking that it is expected that you comply with this law, and that the government expects that if you do not, that you comply willingly. We call it voluntary compliance. And that if you do not comply, we will force you to comply by bringing in sanctions and penalties. Sanctions include fines and imprisonment, you know. So now the question is that one of the research I'm doing is that this sanction, how has it helped people to really comply with the tax law? So that's my own personal question. I'm still working on it because sometimes people, the sanctions don't really encourage them. Maybe we should find a way of picking them to see it as part of their government. And when I get to Right Honorable Bumi Adedoba, I'm going to say something because she's playing devil advocate now, forgetting that she was SC revenue and that she was chasing everybody to come and remit their taxes. Okay, so sir, there are so many penalties. In fact, as a matter of fact, it's a cost for FRS and FIT. It's very long. So, and we continue to put it, the government will continue to put it online for people to know. Most of these penalties are online. They are not hidden. They are in public domain. Then, okay, I think, so that I don't... then the chairman asked for the difference between avoidance and evasion. I was privileged to be chairman of Nigerian Standard Board of the Channel Inflow Taxation, where we made law, guideline. We call it SAS 9. And it's actually talking about this same thing. There's no difference between the two except a tiny line. That's all. So because if care is not taken when you are avoiding, you can evade. So now, okay. So what is avoidance? Avoidance happens whereby you study the law carefully, particularly with your tax consultant, and decide to invest in where you can benefit from relief legally. You deliberately study the law, and you are using that law to plan your businesses. No law can catch up with you. That's avoidance. Evasion is whereby you forcefully tamper with your document in order to reduce your tax liability. For example, your sales is 51 million. You deliberately move 2 million to your personal account such that your sales can be 49 million. Sir, I'm trying to equal it. So you deliberately move 2 million to your account such that your sale in your record will be 49 million. Forgetting that you are using the same BVM for the two accounts, your personal and the company. You understand now? And they are linked together. So if you have 4 companies, 49 million, 41 million, 41 million, and the BVM will equally link all those 4 companies, I'm sure you are aware. And that's what Right Honorable Adeluwa was trying to say, that to hide now is always very difficult. So I think it is cheaper and easier for us to comply than for us to start to go behind the door to do any funny savings. So how do tax capital? Okay, you talk about capital gain. Mrs. Adeluwa equally talk about capital gain. I would have requested that she should help me answer that question. Yes, now she was revenue. She was commissioner. We were both together. I was executive chairman. We worked together, so I know what she did. So anyway, the truth is that if your papa give you land at no cost, that means the cost of the land is 0. And so when you want to sell the land, or when you have sold the land, you deduct the cost of the land, which is 0, from the price of the land, and the profit, which is going to be 50 million minus the cost. I don't know the cost this time around. Times 30%. VC Boesi, more understanding of the tax law. Yeah, there is need for proper. If you look at my presentation, I talk about complexity. One of the issues is the fact that we need to do sensitization. Though I'm not speaking as FRS. I'm not FRS. I'm Prince Olurotimi Shola Akinbade from Iloko Ekiti. So I'm speaking as part of one of your boys here. I'm not talking of as FRS. If I'm speaking as FRS, I won't be talking about areas whereby administrator is not doing well or not. I will tell you areas that you are not doing well. And I will keep quiet in area that the administrators are not doing well. But here, this is our own. Anything called Ekiti, Omomula Yamiju. So if your business succeed, I believe I have added value. So, Right Honorable Bumi, you have Adeluwa, the cost. You deduct it from your sales. Then we'll give you 30% tax. Professor Dejifasu, thank you for all you do. It's just a lesson to me that I need to behave well, because I don't know where I will meet anybody. If I have treated you badly, I will have been in trouble today now. So if I have treated anybody badly, please forgive me. It's not intentional. It's just to do the job. Okay, can you handle your tax issue by yourself? Why not? The law even make provision for it, that you can deliberately handle your tax law. But don't have like Kanu, who was studying the judge, that you don't know the law. What's the Kanu of Sokoto? And I'm the Kanu. So please know that what you are doing it well, because the moment you upload it to the system wrongly, the tax authority will not accept that it's an error. They will not accept. So you can handle it by yourself. So, entry into taxpayers' property. Okay, Malga asks about board entry into property. Right, even before now, you have that power to enter into your property. Only that there are processes. So if you still look at this law too, there are processes. But please don't let us be resistant. Let's just comply with the law. By the time they start breaking the door and it's becoming violent, and at the end of the day, it's always very difficult to win government. I don't know why. Not that it's impossible. It's always very difficult. Even when you are winning, the stress is always too much. So let us look at the law and see how we can meet professionally and gentlemanly and move forward. If the MC allow you, I am not the MC. Okay, you said pay a certain percentage if there are tax dispute. Yes, I'm aware of this too. This one has, sir, this thing has equally been in the system for it's not only to when we are, because people would run to court when actually having tax liability. genuinely, and they will be dragging because they know that the court process is very long. So that's why I say you put 30% deposit it. It's your money. You will even get it back with CBN rate. Are you aware? So that's just, you just discourage people from wanting to. But then you talk about doctor reform. It's an allegation that nobody has substantiated for now. So just like you are worried, I'm equally worried. We are an association of worried people. So thank you. God bless you.
That is the end of this morning's program. Afternoon program, sorry. Afternoon, we didn't start in the morning. The next, very shortly, we'll be moving to our AGM, and it will not take time to actually maybe 30-45 minutes for our AGM. So we want to recess for about 5-10 minutes, then we'll commence our AGM. Please, guest speaker, before you go, please, we want to take the people on the item want to take photograph with you, please, as I welcome the chairman of V11, BOT chairman, our chief host and the host, the right honorable speaker of the State of Assembly. Please come forward and take a good photograph with the speaker.